And all because of this man, billionaire Trump ally Elon Musk, who blamed years of inaction on the Prime Minister and called Home Office Minister Jess Phillips a rape genocide apologist.
Have you ever felt betrayed by someone you trusted? That's exactly how many voters are feeling right now about Jess Phillips. As she complains about Elon Musk's criticism, her own constituents are left wondering why she won't support an inquiry into child sexual abuse.
Today, she responded.
It's a ridiculous statement. It's completely and utterly untrue. I've had men say worse things about me over the years.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Today, we're going to walk you through Phillips's contradictions and help you understand why this matters to every single one of us. Because when our elected officials fail to protect the most vulnerable, we all suffer. Jess Phillips's recent complaints about Elon Musk's criticism taking up her time have brought her past statements into sharp focus. It's ironic that Phillips, who once branded George Galloway a rape apologist, now finds herself in the hot seat for her own actions regarding sexual violence victims. This stark contrast between her past and present positions has ignited a firestorm of controversy, leaving many to question her true commitment to victims' rights. While Phillips's supporters argue that she's always been a champion for those affected by sexual violence, a closer examination of her record paints a different picture. Her refusal to fund an inquiry into child sexual abuse in Oldham has raised eyebrows and drawn fierce criticism. This decision seems particularly tone-deaf given the historical context of grooming gangs in the area.
The first cabinet meeting of the new year.
Will there be a national inquiry into grooming gangs, Foreign Secretary?
Sir Keir Starmer's top team confronted with a scandal decades in the making.
It's left many wondering, how can someone who claims to be a staunch advocate for victims justify such a stance? Phillips's voting record and public statements further complicate the narrative of her as a tireless defender of victims' rights. Her refusal to support a national inquiry into grooming gangs stands in stark contrast to her previous vocal support for similar initiatives. This inconsistency has not gone unnoticed, and it's fueling accusations of hypocrisy from all corners. As the pressure mounts, Phillips seems to be struggling to reconcile her past statements with her current position. In a recent interview, she expressed frustration over the attention her situation has garnered, stating, "It takes up so much bandwidth of my time from a man who knows absolutely nothing about the subject he's talking about." But this attempt to deflect criticism only serves to highlight the disconnect between her words and actions. The resurfacing of Phillips's past comments about Galloway has opened a Pandora's box of questions about her credibility. How can someone who so readily accused others of insensitivity towards sexual violence victims now find herself facing similar accusations? This turn of events has sparked a broader discussion about accountability in politics and the dangers of weaponizing sensitive issues for political gain. Critics argue that Phillips's actions, particularly her refusal to support the Oldham inquiry, undermine her credibility as a champion for victims' rights. The historical context of grooming gangs in the area makes her stance even more puzzling. Is there more to this story than meets the eye? Some speculate that her position might be influenced by party politics or a desire to protect certain individuals within the Labour Party. As the Oldham inquiry saga unfolds, a disturbing pattern emerges in Jess Phillips's actions. Her refusal to support a government-funded investigation into historic child sexual abuse in Oldham has left many bewildered and outraged. Why would a self-proclaimed champion of victims' rights turn her back on such a crucial matter? Phillips's response to Oldham Council's request for government support was chilling in its bureaucratic detachment. She stated that it was for Oldham Council alone to decide to commission an inquiry into child sexual exploitation locally rather than for the government to intervene. This cold, hands-off approach has sent shockwaves through the community, particularly among those who have suffered at the hands of grooming gangs. The emotional toll of Phillips's stance is palpable. One mother, her voice trembling with disappointment, expressed the sentiment felt by many: "We thought she was on our side." This heartbreaking statement encapsulates the sense of betrayal experienced by victims and their families. They had placed their trust in Phillips, believing her to be an ally in their fight for justice. Now, they find themselves questioning everything they thought they knew about her commitment to their cause. As the controversy deepens, speculation about Phillips's motives has reached a fever pitch. Critics argue that her reluctance to support the inquiry might be politically motivated. Is she protecting someone within the Labour Party? The shadow of Keir Starmer's tenure as Director of Public Prosecutions from 2008 to 2013 looms large over this decision. Elon Musk, never one to mince words, went so far as to accuse Phillips of being complicit in a cover-up, directly linking Starmer's time at the CPS to the failure to bring rape gangs to justice. Adding fuel to the fire, investigative reporter Andrew Norfolk has pointed out a glaring contradiction. While there was indeed an increase in convictions during Starmer's time at the CPS, the root causes of grooming gangs remain largely unexamined. This raises uncomfortable questions about the depth and effectiveness of previous investigations. Could Phillips's reluctance to support a new inquiry be an attempt to shield her party leader from further scrutiny? In a desperate attempt to salvage her reputation, Phillips has made vague promises to consider various forms of inquiry if victims desire it. "There is nothing I will not consider going forward," she stated, hinting at a potential shift in her position. However, this non-committal response rings hollow when contrasted with her earlier refusal to engage directly with victims. Instead of addressing their concerns, Phillips has focused on crafting a political narrative that serves her interests. The shocking state of public trust in politicians, particularly regarding sensitive issues like child abuse, paints a grim picture of our democracy. With rape charging rates in England and Wales at a dismal 2%, it's clear that the system is failing those it's meant to protect. But there's hope. Grassroots movements have shown time and again that community action can hold politicians accountable and demand justice. Jess Phillips's actions are part of a larger, deeply troubling pattern where political interests seem to trump the needs of victims. It's a stark reminder that we, as voters, must demand more from our representatives. Those who claim to champion vulnerable groups should be held to the highest standards of accountability. The fight for justice continues, but who will lead it if not those we've elected to do so? It's time for citizens to step up, to amplify their voices, and to insist on transparency and action from their leaders. The recent calls for a national inquiry into grooming gangs, fueled by public outrage and activism, show that when communities unite, they can influence political action. But this shouldn't be necessary. Our elected officials should be leading these charges, not following reluctantly in their wake.